Hey, welcome to Watching Waiting on the Lord. It's November 11th. It's almost November 12th in about 5 minutes. I haven't really been giving a lot of the news lately, and because I like reading other stuff sometimes. I'm gonna give you a really interesting article. This is I try to give things that a lot of people don't talk about and about the Bible. Um, so I'll get to that in a second. I can see, news is coming in hourly. You know this, right? This is what's happening. These are the birth pains. That's what's going to happen till we see Jesus Christ. I just heard that a big bridge was burning in downtown Los Angeles, and I could see the skeleton of the pillars from the bridge. Gavin Newsom, state of emergency. I don't know what it's about. I have no idea. Another thing, what else did I hear? Strategically, they're putting. Excuse me. I just went for a walk down the river with my dad. It's about a 5 or 6 kilometer walk. It's pretty cold. With the wind, it's probably about -10. That's why my hair is kind of. What else? It's nice walking down at the river. Strategically, you can see that they're setting up U.S. bases, NATO, all across Europe and the Middle East. So you can see they're spread out everywhere. If there's anyone spread out properly, it's the NATO forces, U.S. forces. A lot of different carriers attached with NATO. That would make 4 carriers. That'd be besides the 2 U.S. carriers, it'd be HMS Queen Elizabeth, and I think there's an Italian carrier, but I heard this, and I have to look again, and I'm not going to say for sure, but I think they said there were 200 aircraft. I don't know if those are with the carriers, and then another 53, and those are F-35s, the 53, and they have B-61. They're called B-61 tactical nuclear weapons. I don't know if every F-35, but I believe there's at least 12, maybe 12. It could be all of them. But this stuff is stuff that we never ever see. So you know where we are, right? They're right. These are all the things that you hear before a war starts, and it's building. We know that. So I'm going to read this article. The news doesn't stop. There's no shortage of news stories. Serious news stories. I saw something last night about this, just short, and I was like, I have to look into this to see what it was really like at that time. I saw a video about Annas and Caiphas, and you read the Bible over and over and over, and you have this idea ever since you were a kid. You hear about Annas and Caiphas if you know your Bible stories. And you think certain things, and you forget that there's a big story underneath it, right? This isn't just a fable. So it was a video. I don't know the validity of this person. It was well done, but it said that this is what I mean about the validity. I don't know the validity of this. He said that when Annas, who was a high priest before Caiphas, and he was well known with connections, they said he banged his head over and over and over when he found out they killed the Messiah. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I can't find information pertaining to that, and when I wanted to go back to the video, I couldn't find it. But it made me want to look in to. So the question that came in my head was, this is what I thought in my head. I thought, Jesus must have come at a time. You know how there are 500,000 reasons at once God can put together and make into a ball and come for all those different reasons, but somehow attach them to one another. You know how God does it. You can't explain it. He must have come because of them, because the leadership was so corrupt at that time. Even with the prophecies way before those people existed, because God knew it was going to happen, because God can see above things. God can see above things, and he knows, and he can plan things out any way he wants. He can twist things any way he wants. He's God. So I looked, I'm like, the story came to my mind of the money changers. Jesus taking making a whip out of cords and turning over the money. So I wanted to look further into it. Why did Jesus do that? There must be a deep reason. So I'm going to read you this. I'm going to take a big sip of water first, because I went on a long walk. And I'm going to read you this article. I'll share it with you too. I don't know if it's true, the whole thing, but I bet it is. I'll put it in the description box. The house of Annas, and corruption in the time of Jesus. On many occasions in human history, leaders in public or even religious office succumbed to the temptation of money while in office, plundering the land or nations they ruled. So, another parallel between that time and this is corruption, right? You know it. You think of people like Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, all of those types of things, taking money from people, asking for money from people. Corruption of the Pope, the Vatican papacy. Okay, on many occasions in human history, leaders in public or even religious office succumbed to the temptation of money while in office, plundering the land or nations they ruled. People in Malaysia, like many other places, are familiar with politicians. So I think this is a Malaysian writing this. And other leaders abusing their power to enrich themselves fabulously. The temple high priesthood during the 1st century AD, when Jesus lived, was no different. Was it really corrupt? And if so, what did Jesus think of corruption? The Gospels don't speak explicitly about corruption, but if we read them carefully in the light of what was going on, gleaned from other later texts, we can pull aside the cobwebs of history. For instance, look at the passage about how Jesus condemns those who, so here it is, devours widows' houses. Mark 12, verse 40. King Herod had earlier imported several priestly families from the Jewish diaspora, like Babylon and Egypt, to displace the previous high priest oligarchy from the earlier Hasmonean dynasty. At one point, he even made his second wife's Miriam's brother Aristobulus, who was not even 18 years old, the high priest. As a result, the high priests were beholden to the rulers, and later to the Roman prefects, for their positions. Some believe the high priests even got their positions based on what they could do for the rulers, or more precisely, how much they could pay off the rulers, a sort of you help me and I'll help you. Although there were 4 main priestly families that sometimes intermarried, the house of Annas stood out. Annas was high priest from 6 to 15 AD, and he built one of the most powerful families in the land. That's all we need to know, right? Annas was the mafia don of the high priest, or the emeritus high priest. In fact, 5 of his sons, listen to this. In fact, 5 of his sons, a grandson, and even a son-in-law, Caiphas, in office from 18 to 36 AD, served as high priests for much of the period. apart from a gap of less than 20 years leading up to the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. I think they say the video was saying he was smacking his head because he realized they killed the Messiah in it might have been 70 AD because they were alive still. Nepotism ran rife in the running of the temple, which held and controlled immense wealth. You can only imagine, right? And that's why he got sacked so many times, right? And you hear in like in Maccabees, the high priest would often, and kings, place their sons or relatives in key positions in the temple hierarchy, such as temple treasurer and temple supervisor or captain. The families received handsome dowries and were decked in fine linen and expensive jewelry. Widows in these high priestly families received generous pensions straight out of the temple treasury. Such was the influence of Annas, then in his 50s, that Jesus was first brought to him for a cursory interrogation, before being taken to the sham and illegal night trial presided over by Anas's son-in-law Caiphas, about 8 or 9 years younger than Annas. Both of them were probably Sadducees. They were Sadducees, part of the wealthy land aristocratic class who didn't believe in the resurrection. Remember, you had ones that didn't believe in the resurrection and ones that do, were the Pharisees. High priest Caiphas probably had a long and cozy relationship with the Roman prefect Pontius Pilate. Hints of this can be seen when on several occasions Pilate upset ordinary Jewish sensitivities. They rose in public protest against the Roman prefect, but Caiphas was conspicuous in his silence. Annas' influence remained long after he was deposed as high priest in 15 AD, when he was only in his 30s, that Luke refers to both Annas and Caiphas as high priests, so he refers both as high priests. Some believe that Jesus' parable, listen to this, of Lazarus and the rich man, I could see this being true, refers to the house of Annas, the rich man being Caiphas, and the 5 brothers being Annas' 5 sons, who were also high priests at various other times. Wouldn't that be interesting? Indeed, the historian Josephus referred to Annas as the great hoarder up of money. You wonder why he turned the money things? Annas or his sons probably owned or had rights to the stalls or booths that were set up at the Mount of Olives catering to the pilgrims. They also had monopoly rights to the stalls in the temple premises, probably at the court of the Gentiles, known as the bazaars. You know, like we have bazaars. You know, like you and I have bazaars. And the sons of Annas. Actually, there was a bazaar in my building the other day, and it was bizarre. Thus, the high priestly families profiteered from the exchange of secular currencies to temple currency, shekels, probably getting a cut from the money changers' profits. The stalls also charged stiff prices for the sale of animals. Yeah. For the price of animals, pigeons, and other livestock. Pilgrims could bring down their own animals for sacrifice, but these were subject to a rigorous inspection for defects, so you could only imagine, oh, sorry, it's not good enough, but we have this over here. The animals, even the cheaper pigeons, were sometimes sold at extortionate prices, at times over 10 times the usual price. We know this because on one occasion, Rabbi Simeon ben Gamaliel, I think, wasn't that the one who taught Paul, managed to slash the price for a pair of doves from 1 golden dinar to a quarter of a silver dinar by simply reducing the number of doves or pigeons a poor woman was required to offer. The Mishnah in the Caiphas chapter 1.7. No wonder John the Baptist lashed out at the brood of vipers, lovers of luxury, lording over the people. The following condemnation of the high priests' families is from section 57a of the, I don't even know what this is, Pesukim, which discusses Passover-related topics. The Pesukim is part of the Mishnah, the first major collection of Jewish oral traditions, and of the Talmud. I don't even look at that stuff. I'll read what it says. Woe is me due to the high priests of the house of Betos. Woe is me due to their clubs. Woe is me due to the high priest of the house of something Anin. It has a question mark in front of it. I'll leave it in the description box. But it has in brackets NS. Woe is me due to their whispers and their rumors they spread. Gossipers. Woe is me due to the high priest of the house of Catros. Woe is me due to their pens that they use to write lies. Woe is me. Woe is a bad thing in the Bible. Woe. Sorry, I totally lost my voice there. Happens. Like a woe, like woe to those who put a stumbling block in front of a child. Better if you put a millstone around their neck in the depths of the sea. That's a woe. So they're bad. Woe is me to the servants of the high priest of the house of Yishmael ben Piaki. Woe is me due to their fists. The power of the household stemmed from the fact that the fathers were high priests, and their sons were the temple treasurers, and their sons-in-law were temple overseers, the Amarkalin, and their servants strike the people with clubs and otherwise act inappropriately. Translated by Rabbi Adin, even Israel Steinsaltz. I don't know. No wonder Jesus was furious when he sized up what was going on in the temple, especially how the temple authorities were fleecing and burdening the people, many of them humble, devoted peasants in so many ways. Can you think of all the people throughout all the generations of those horrible generations of the good people? Feel sorry for them. When Jesus struck out at the money changers and traders, the frontliners in the temple, it was a direct hit at Annas and Caiphas's cost money-making racketeering. And that was why, from that point, they wanted Jesus put down for good. So there's another view, right? There's another view. It certainly had to do with this too. So what would Jesus say about corruption in today's world that has burdened the people and contributed to immense suffering? So that's a good article. Read it. You'll know more after it. That was Sunday, November... Oh, wait, was this? Can't be. This was written July 29th, 22. So it makes you think, when you look at the Bible and you look at certain things, especially if you've known it since you're a kid, you have certain almost fixed views in your head, right? And you can see it almost like a children's book. That's what it's like for me, is because I first learned these things and those just stick in your head. But when you think a lot, there's a lot deeper to it. And when you come to the realization that prophecy is real, these stories are real. There are little stories like there's many people who think that the story of Lazarus is a true story, but it's not. It's just a parable. But as you just read there, it might be an example, right? So, an example of something real. So, thanks for watching this. I thought you might find that interesting. God bless.